which alone made it worth it, but lots of the games were just poor versions of NES titles and shameful, watered-down arcade games. It didn't matter how compromised they were. As long as they could fit on a Game Boy cartridge, why not? The only reason to own Street Fighter II on Game Boy would be to play it on a trip or something. But what about when you're at home? You better own the console version too, because if all you had was this, oh man. None of these inferiorities hampered the Game Boy's success, nor did the monochrome graphics. A lot of people say the Game Boy's in black and white, but really, it's more like 4 ugly shades of green. The screen has no light, so if you try to play it in the dark, you'll see nothing. You'd think it made a big sensation only because of the novelty of it being portable, and that it would soon fade away once the next thing would come along. But no, that didn't happen. And the competition was fierce. There was the Sega Game Gear, the Atari Lynx, amongst others. They all had color and lighted screens, but that scrappy little Game Boy kicked all their asses. It came out in '89 and wasn't discontinued until 2003. During its lifespan, there was Super Nintendo, Nintendo 64, and even GameCube hit the scene before this gray brick with puke-colored graphics finally died out. Also, as famously shown in Nintendo Power, a soldier in the Gulf War had a Game Boy that survived a bomb blast. Even though it was burnt black, it still powered on. You can't stop the Game Boy. They were released in different colors, like black, red, and yellow. They even made one transparent. Nintendo Power made stickers, which are still on my only working Game Boy. Then there was the carrying case, which looked like a giant Game Boy. A whole lineage was started, including the Game Boy Color, the Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Advance SP, which evolved into the DS and 3DS. But it's impressive how long the original Game Boy stuck around. And naturally, during that time, lots of add-ons were made for it, mostly by third parties. These ranged from practical to flat-out ridiculous. And that's what I want to focus on here. Useful, though it's technically a Super Nintendo add-on, an adapter to play Game Boy games on your TV, colorized with lots of color presets and the option to mix your own color combinations. There's border graphics and the ability to draw all over it. A total time waster, but how could you resist? Certain games were specifically made for the Super Game Boy with their own color design and borders. But onto the Game Boy. The first—
Wait, why did they have a light? Why did they have a light though? To make a clear vision? Why there's like a lamp on it? なんでライトが必要なの? Why do they need like extra attachment for the light? So you could play in the dark? Wait, I don't get it. No backlight? Wait, no backlight? Then how do you see the game? デフォの液晶だと暗くて見えない。Ah, so only you can see it at theん?なるほど、昔の液晶は光らなかった？へえ。え？そうなの？ Wait, is that possible? Huh? なるほど。Only underlight? What is underlight? なるほどね。へえ。あれ？そうなの？ Wait, so if you try, so it's not like a phone or like iPad these days. Like it doesn't matter where you play at, right?
Game Boys back in the day had no lighting. If it was too bright, you couldn't see the screen.
Huh.
If it was too dark, you can't see the screen.
Really? マジで？そうなんだ。ああ、なるほどね。
Game Boy, Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance didn't have built-in lights. Not until the Game Boy Advance SP. All the competitors had lights, but they ate up way more power.
ああ、そうなんだ。
Not only that, but the moment I plug it in, it shuts the Game Boy down.
Mario! Okay, this is kind of cool, I guess.
This is too much fun. Also, there is the Game Boy printer, so if you want to print the pictures, yeah, that can happen.
I barely see it. Holy crap, he needs to get more ink. I barely see it. There 見えないって。